Aloha and welcome to Action Island. I am Gilles Gallant. I am joined by Sean Koerner, Nick Giffen, and Grant Neiffer. And we're going to kick off week 12 in the NFL with the Buffalo Bills and Houston Texans for Thursday Night Football. Now, as usual, why we're here, we're going to build the same game parlay for Thursday Night Football. It's going to be a four-leg same game parlay. Here's what we do. The four of us, we give our two favorite bets for tonight's game. Then we're going to take a vote on those picks to decide which one is going to stay as a parlay leg and which one is going to get kicked off the island. By the end of the show, we'll have a four-leg same game parlay for Thursday Night Football. Now, if parlays aren't your thing, but you want to tail some of these straight bets, all of our picks, we're going to be dropping links in the YouTube chat that'll help you quickly bet these. The lines tend to move. We want to make sure you get the best prices and numbers. So use those links and you can thank us later. But Grant, you've been red hot with the touchdown props. You're fresh back from Vegas. What are you looking at for Thursday Night Football?
All right, so first prop, I'm going with Shakir to score a touchdown. You can get him around plus 300, plus 310. He did have a baby, I think it was on Monday, so he might be a little sleep deprived. Had not practiced all week, but I still assume that they're going to use him the same amount in the red zone. He'll be ready for all his red zone rolls. So plus 300 is a little bit too high. He has 9 targets on the season, which I believe leads all Bills in red zone targets. Obviously, they're going to run it in with Allen a lot. They're going to run it with James Cook a lot, but it's a tough matchup. Houston a little bit more susceptible out of the slot. And no Coleman tonight, no Kincaid tonight, no Samuel tonight, no Hardman tonight. At least most likely no Coleman from all the reports. We get the number one wide receiver in this offense, and we're getting plus 300 yards when Josh Allen's playing in a dome. Seems way too high to me. In the next one, I don't feel great about this, but I feel really good about this. I know that's very conflicting. Shavers, 50 plus receiving yards, plus 400. I actually hit it all the way to 80 plus at plus 1200. He should step into this Coleman role. He looked great last week, 90 yards of receiving, a touchdown on 4 receptions. He's getting a lot of deep targets. Well, I say a lot, but it's actually just a lot in comparison to the rest of his overall targets. He only has 12 total catches in his career. I think 4 of them are for over 20 yards. One was for 60 plus, one was for 40 plus. So he's a big, deep threat. So taking the alt lines I like better than his regular line, although I did hit his regular line. The guy's big. He's like 6'4", 6'5". He can get those jump balls. Josh Allen probably going to be slinging him to deep in a dome here. So 50 plus, plus 400 seems way too high to me.
Yeah, this Keon Coleman situation is really weird, right? Like inactive last week, probably going to be inactive tonight based on all the reports. And last week, Shaver stepped right in, had a huge, spectacular touchdown against the Bucks. And then Shakir, obviously, you and I, as the dads of the group here, we probably can relate that he probably had a couple sleepless nights this week. But again, short week, he knows the playbook inside and out. He'll probably be able to go no problem for Thursday Night Football. But Nick and Sean, that's for us to decide. Are we going to take Khalil Shakir for an anytime touchdown, or are we going to take Tyrell Shavers to have 50 or more receiving yards? So let's take a vote. All right, Nick, Sean, I went with Shavers. I think this Coleman situation, I think he can really exploit this. Did you guys think the same? Shavers? Yeah. So let's go with Tyrell Shavers to have an upside game in this one, Grant. So we're going to take the 50 plus receiving yards prop. That's at 4-1 right now. If you want to tail that bet again, quick sip links are dropped in the YouTube chat and his other bet as well of Khalil Shakir for an anytime touchdown. That's around plus 300-ish. All right, so Grant, you hang tight. Now let's move on to Sean's picks. And Sean, what is the first bet that you like for Texans Bills?
Yeah, first up, I'm going to go with Texans first half plus 3.5. This is actually my pick in my Thursday Night Football betting preview. So you could read my full write-up up on the site right now. But long story short, the Bills tend to get off to slow starts. They're 3-7 against the spread in first halves this season. And then they really turn it on in the second half. And I could see that continuing to be the case here. It's, a short week. And they're facing a really stingy Texans defense. So I think early on they could struggle. They've been dealing with so much volatility at the wide receiver position. It takes Josh Allen probably, few drives to kind of settle in with the new group that he has on the field. So I think on the short week, it makes sense, for them to be a little bit slow out of the gate. Plus, the Bills are a very run funnel defense, so the Texans should be able to lean on the run early on, bleed some clock, lean on their defense, just keep the first half lower scoring overall. And I like the fact that we're just getting such a key number in 3.5 for the first half. So that's my first official bet.
All right. So Texans first half plus 3.5, just based on what we've seen from the Bills, maybe starting slow again, facing a pretty tough defense on the road too. So we like the Texans first half plus 3.5. That's Sean's first bet. Now, Sean, I've been told that you went on a walk or a boardwalk yesterday to consider a prop that you're looking at. So I've been told that this is called the Divine Intervention Prop of the Week. Can you please clarify what this is all about?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, just usually Wednesdays, or my day of Zen. Last week I was at the Tame and Paul concert. I'm kind of shocked. Nobody knows who they are. That's kind of incredible. But yesterday, I was just out for a walk, so I posted I'll be on tonight. So the one I have landed on, arrived at, the one that's going to be an official play for me tonight is Nico Collins under 5.5 receptions tonight.
Nice.
This is kind of similar to the CD Lamb prop I had Monday night. There's just a lot of little things. I'm projecting him to stay under this. He's cleared it in 3 straight games. Which is notable because Davis Mills has started the last 2 games and took over for Stroud in that third game when he got knocked out with the concussion. So these two have had a ton of chemistry. They played together for 2 full seasons before the Texans drafted Stroud. So this is one of those bets where it's Nico good, me bet Nico over. We have 99% of the action
Yeah.
on his over here. But just there's a few things I think people might be overlooking is the Texans have averaged 70 plays over the last 3 games. They've been very good at dominating time of possession on the season. They rank third in time of possession, but they face a Bills team that is second in time of possession. So, the Bills will probably be able to limit the Texans' overall volume by just keeping the ball away from them and burning clock. Plus, the Bills have only allowed 17 completions per game, the lowest in the league, which is kind of bizarre because they're constantly, playing with the lead and teams have to be a little bit more pass heavy to play catch up. But the Bills just have such a run funnel defense that teams can get away with just running the ball. So I'm expecting the Texans to run it with, Woody Marks, Nick Chubb at a higher rate here than usual, which will, lower the overall passing volume. And then, of course, when Nico does catch the ball, it's usually an explosive downfield play. Those are fine here. We want Nico, scoring a touchdown, a long touchdown early
Yeah.
on to set up, positive game script. So it kind of correlates with what I want with the, Texans first half bet anyway. But at the end of the day, I'm projecting this closer to 5.1 catches with about a 59% chance he stays under 5.5.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not to say that Nico Collins can't go over this number. It's just a really high line of 5.5 in a game where the play script is just probably going to be less. And also the emergence of guys like Jaden Higgins and Xavier Hutchinson, they're
Yep.
probably going to get some more looks as well if the Bills more focus on Nico and try to limit him as well. So, all right, Nick, Grant, we got to take a vote here. Are we going to fade Nico Collins, take under 5.5 receptions, or are we going to take Texans to cover the first half spread at plus 3.5? So let's take a vote. All right, I like both of these bets. I went with the Texans first half. I feel like if that's the official pick from the game preview, I really feel all right. It's a clean sweep. I don't have to say anymore. They agree with me as well. So Nick, Grant, and I, we all voted clean sweep of Texans first half plus 3.5. Even though Sean has also said that he is probably going to be betting Nico Collins under 5.5 receptions. All right, we're going to get to Nick's picks here in a second, but I want to talk about Action Pro because it's that time of year. We have the best deal on Action Pro as a part of our Black Friday pre-sale, and that's live now. You can sign up now for $40 off an annual subscription. It's our biggest sale of the year. Action Pro users get real-time alerts as soon as our experts like Sean Koerner, Nick Giffen, Stuckey, Chris Raybon, all of us, if they track picks in the app, you have to wait if you don't have Action Pro. If you have Action Pro, you get those notifications immediately. You also get real-time money percentages to see where the smart money is flowing, access to all of the player prop projections, which are powered by our analytics team and Sean Koerner. It's the best deal of the year. It runs through Sunday. Just go to actionnetwork.com/pro. Sign up now for $40 off an annual subscription to Action Pro. All right, Nick. I read your Week 12 luck rankings piece. I did not see this game in there, so I'll just give a little spoiler that this is probably not a luck rankings game. But where are we leaning to this game now? Because the really strong home side here. What are we thinking?
Yeah, well, Sean gave Texans first half plus 3.5. I'm going to go one further. I'm going to take Texans money line. I think the best number out there is around plus 225, plus 230. And in Sean's write-up, and this isn't to pick on Sean or anything, I think he said we can all agree the Bills are the better team. I'll disagree. I think the Texans might be the better team, and the emphasis is on team, not because of Davis Mills or anything, but obviously with CJ Stroud, they'd be better. But because of this defense is awesome. And if we actually just look at the numbers this year, a case could be made that the Texans actually are the better team. If we look at first order Pythagorean win percentage, the Texans are better, right? That's basically just looking at the score differentials. Now, Buffalo does have a scoring differential of plus 63 versus Houston's plus 57, but Houston's have come in a lot lower scoring games, so that score differential is much more meaningful. Houston has actually scored a higher fraction of the total points in their games than Buffalo has, with Houston scoring around 57.5% of the total points in games they play. Buffalo only 56% of the total points in games they play. Now, if we use second order Pythagorean, which is our expected scores, which powers our luck rankings, the Texans are slightly worse, but just barely. However, that doesn't account for the opponents they've faced. If you look at, again, first order and schedule adjust it, the Texans were already better in first order, and they have the more difficult schedule. Houston has played the 8th toughest schedule, while the Bills have played the 5th easiest schedule on the year so far. And same thing with second order. If you schedule adjust that, which is called third order Pythagorean wins, which is the most predictive of future performance, the Texans are better. So, using all of that, our schedule adjusted expected scores, I get Houston around -1.5 if you use a blend of CJ Stroud 80%, Davis Mills 20%, which is basically what they've done this year with Mills starting 2 games. And then if we take away a full 3 points for Mills, we get Buffalo by about -1.5 here. I have this essentially as a coin flip, maybe leaning slightly towards Buffalo. So give me plus 230. I like some good odds when I have this as nearly a coin flip game.
Yeah, I think you make a good point too of the team aspect because the Texans defense is clearly the best unit in this game, but clearly a lot of the time I think a lot of people will just look at who's the better quarterback, and that's not how football works. So Texans money line going right for it right now around plus 230. That's the first pick from Nick. Where are we going with the second one?
Yeah, something a little less provocative here because I know me saying I think the Texans are the better team is a little probably be met with resistance since 94% of the bets are on the Bills money line. So I'm in the 6% here. But give me Tyrell Shavers, who Grant took for over 1.5 receptions. And this is -145 odds. And look, Grant talked a lot about Shavers here, and that is a 4-to-1 leg already. And Gilles, I've seen your touchdown preview. I know you're going to be giving out some long odds touchdowns. So -145 is a nice parlay piece here. And our prop tool agrees. Even at -145 odds, our prop is giving a 7.7% edge for Shavers to go over 1.5 receptions, which means at those odds, this is about 67% to hit. So, that way we don't blow it up this parlay into triple digit odds or anything. If we take this leg as the vote, it correlates really well with the Texans money line. If the Texans are going to win, then the Bills are going to be trailing and they're going to have to throw more. So all of the reasons here, I really like the Texans money line, but if we want a nice safe leg, let's go with Tyrell Shavers over 1.5 receptions.
I like both of these bets, Nick, and I think this Shavers bet reminds me a lot of what we did for Monday Night Football when you took Michael Mayer over 2.5 receptions, and he did end up finishing with the 3. We just had to take Geno Smith interception, and that just anyway. I won't dwell on Monday Night Football. Let's talk about Thursday Night Football. So now, Grant, Sean, we got to take a vote. Are we going to take the Texans money line around plus 230, or are we going to double down on Tyrell Shavers to take over 1.5 receptions? So let's take a vote. All right, guys, I did not get there with the Texans. I'm doubling down on Shavers. I'm just going to say it right now. What are we doing, Shavers? All right. Well, Grant's in the line. Nick is, or Sean is too. All right. So Tyrell Shavers over 1.5 receptions. That's going to be paired with 50 plus receiving yards, along with Texans plus 3.5 on the first half spread. All right. So that's the first three legs of the parlay. Nick, you alluded to it. I do have a couple touchdown props, one on each side. Dawson Knox is going to be the first one. He's around plus 350. Only one touchdown this year, but Dalton Kincaid is out. Khalil Shakir, he hadn't practiced much, so I think he is still going to play, but just probably I'm not sure how involved he will be. But also, one of the things that I loved about Dawson Knox last week is he led all Bills pass catchers in routes run, and the Texans defense. Part of the thing of what I do when I bet on touchdown props, I don't really like attacking the outside of this defense. I think they're so strong at corner that I like to look at guys like a Shakir or a Dawson Knox guys over the middle. So I love Dawson Knox for an anytime touchdown in this game. On the Texans side, and this is a bit of a Nico Collins fade, I like Jaden Higgins right now to score a touchdown in this game. 3 touchdowns, has shown he can be a solid wide receiver too in this offense. He was a second round pick. They gave him a fully guaranteed contract. He has back-to-back games also with 7 targets, and he's seen 3 end zone targets over the last 3 games with Davis Mills at quarterback. Also, I know we talked about the secondary of maybe limiting Nico Collins. I just think this Bills defense is super overrated in my opinion. I know that they have some good data that is saying that they could stop wide receivers. I don't. I've seen with my own eyes that this team could be thrown on, and I think the Texans are going to be able to move the ball with the run to set up those pass opportunities. I think Jaden Higgins can get a touchdown on this defense. So, guys, that's the 2 touchdown props that I like. I didn't want to go with my super long shot of Davis Mills, so I thought we'd keep it a little more local here with guys that are going to play full-time snaps on offense here. So, all right, guys, Dawson Knox, anytime touchdown, Jaden Higgins, anytime touchdown. It's up to you guys to vote on what it will be the final leg of the same game parlay. All right, which way do we go? Because it's going to spice up this parlay no matter what. All right, I see Higgins. I see a Knox. Higgins. All right, 2-1 for Higgins over Knox. Before we recap the parlay, what did you think of Knox over Higgins in this spot, Grant?
I mean, Knox, first of all, this is a non-analytics thing. He always seems to score on standalone games. Over the years, it's always happened. No Kincaid, obviously, is going to be playing quite a few snaps. Last week, he ran a ton of routes, I think over 90%, just a very large amount. And he's a guy that he can find his way into the end zone over the years. Again, with the lack of depth there for the Bills at wide receiver, even though they had an unreal amount of depth. With all the guys out, he's going to be playing a lot. He should get some more targets, and they will use him in the end zone. And it always seems to happen for some reason on standalone games. So that's why I would rather go with Knox.
I used to have a rule where it was anything over plus 200, I would bet on Dawson Knox. So anytime now we're getting like 3-1, 4-1, I feel pretty good about it, especially with Kincaid out. But for the parlay itself, we will go with Jaden Higgins to round this out. So let's recap this parlay here. So we have from Grant, Tyrell Shavers, 50 or more receiving yards. From Sean, we have Texans plus 3.5 for the first half. Nick has Tyrell Shavers over 1.5 receptions, and we rounded out with Jaden Higgins for an anytime touchdown. Guys, for this parlay, I'm seeing it right now at 45-1 at Bet365, 40-1 at DraftKings. So really getting spicy here for a Thursday night football. Sean, I was going to ask you this because we talked about this parlay off air. What do you think about this parlay and how it's correlating, and how do you feel about the fair odds and what we're getting?
Yeah, no, I love this one. I think it's very correlated for something paying out, over 40-1. We just need a Jaden Higgins touchdown early on for the, Texans first half. And, that could force Josh Allen, the Bills, into a more pass-heavy game script and peppering Shavers with targets. And I think Shavers and Higgins are both trending up at the perfect time to invest in them. So I love this one.
Any last words, Nick, before we get out of here?
No, I hope it wasn't a little too provocative with the Texans are the better team, but we'll see. I think it's going to be an interesting game. I think it's going to be a close one, so I'm excited for it. Like Sean said, 40-1 for a highly correlated parlay. We just and Sean was saying this to me. We need to get that Higgins touchdown. It's like getting the triple when you're hitting for the cycle. Get that out of the way, the hard leg, and then get the other legs, and we'll hit for the cycle and hit a parlay.
Beauty. All right. So 40 to 1 at DraftKings. Tyrell Shavers, 50 plus receiving yards. Texans plus first half, or plus 3.5 in the first half. Tyrell Shavers over 1.5 receptions. Jaden Higgins anytime touchdown. That is 45 to 1 at Bet365 and 40 to 1 at DraftKings. So that is all for us tonight. Thank you for watching Action Island for Thursday Night Football. We'll be back here on Monday on the island. We're going to wrap up week 12 with now an actually pretty intriguing, decent matchup between the Carolina Panthers and San Francisco 49ers in that NFC playoff picture. So on behalf of Nick Giffen, Grant Neiffer, Sean Koerner, I'm Gilles Gallant. Thank you for watching Action Island. Aloha and bon chance.